Shut up! I just wanted to say hi to...
Shut up. Face the wall. Turn around. Turn around.
Give me your hat.
Yeah. And you weren't really sparring. You were fighting. We were fighting all the time. And just guys getting dropped all the time. And that was just the kind of gym that I was in.
But this wasn't a real fight. He was pulling punches. He wasn't giving it his full effort.
So there's this whole situation brewing around Joe Rogan and his reaction to these Jake Paul arrest rumors. And honestly, his response has been pretty explosive. The guy is definitely not pulling any punches with his commentary on this one.
You can't think, you can't do things, you don't know what the fuck you're doing in life. It's like literally everything is the quality of your ability to think. And I knew that I was putting that.
What's really caught everyone's attention is how serious Rogan got about this whole thing. He's basically saying that no amount of fame or money is worth risking everything, especially when you're talking about actual physical danger. This isn't just theoretical stuff we're discussing here.
There's I've seen the script, rigged, this, that, and the other. Do you think now, at the very least, that talk goes away? Broke his jaw, went in there against Anthony Joshua. At the very least, do you think that you guys can move on from that? Like, that won't follow you?
No, I don't. I actually, our lawyers are actively going after a number of people. One who claims to be a lawyer himself online. I don't remember the name or the handle, but it was something that had like 200,000 likes. And basically this post said there was an agreement for AJ not to knock out Jake, but AJ disregarded the agreement and decided to not get his payday, but knock out Jake Paul. So it's pretty astonishing what people say. Your dear friend Lou DiBella, saw him put up a bunch of ridiculous things and even said, Nikisa, go ahead and sue me. But this wasn't a real fight. He was pulling punches. He wasn't giving it his full effort.
And so for the people, again, just to clear this up, because I asked Eddie this question, I'll ask you the exact same question. Once and for all, was there any sort of arrangement as far as it should go this many rounds? Because that's the one that I've heard. Oh, Anthony agreed to 3 rounds, 4 rounds. Can you tell us in black and white if there were any talks of any kind between the network, the promotion, the fighter?
There has never once in Jake Paul's career been any talk of that sort, of anything to do with the fight being anything but a real fight that has exactly the same situation as any professional fight. And that's exactly the same thing here for the Anthony Joshua fight. It's just beyond mind-blowing that people would think that. Anthony Joshua was on record saying that if he didn't finish him in the first round, that would be disappointing, that it would be a failure. The narrative changed as we got closer to fight night and obviously post-fight, and I understand why, but they were pretty adamant it would take max 2 rounds.
Rogan keeps emphasizing that boxing brings real risks to the table, and anyone stepping into that ring better understand what they're getting into. There's no room for games when serious harm could be the result.
Because here's the thing. Look at all them celebrities like dude from the Mighty Ducks, the little boy actor that got strung out on drugs. And all his fronts and all his teeth were missing from being on meth or whatever, whatever drug of choice he was on. There's no coming back from that. The people who like dissipate their teeth through drug usage, you don't get like a second set. So if I'm not mistaken, the dude from Mighty Ducks, somebody like he's been clean and they gave him a makeover and he has like pretty much fake teeth. So yeah, the teeth are going to be cooked. Now, I agree with the other part that Rogan was saying, but let's keep going.
Yeah, I think he went into that fight knowing that was probably going to happen. Yeah. And ultimately, the big win for him would be that he was even willing to do it and that he could do well for a little bit.
Yeah, and I've already expressed my thoughts on this. I'm not giving no props for a person who says I am a real deal boxer because I went in and get smashed and got my jaw broken, but I lasted longer than Ngannou. But I was crazy enough to try, because to be honest, we're way past the honeymoon stage with a person like Jake Paul. You've been in this for long enough to go through fight camps, dedicate your time, effort, energy, money, spar with people. You spar with some quality names because you have resources and money or whatever. So we're well past that, to the point where you just get credit for stepping in. you maybe got credit your first fight or whatever, first couple of fights, for coming from your background and, you know, stepping in and fighting, but we're well past that. You have a box rec. You were being ranked by sanctioning bodies in boxing, so.
From what's been reported in the combat sports world, Rogan thinks Paul needs to take a hard look at where he's heading before making any more moves in the ring. Because at the end of the day, chasing clout or cash through dangerous fights, particularly ones that might involve shady dealings, just isn't worth what could happen next.
Break him down. He said before the fight, I'm going to break him down and then I'm going to knock him out. And that's exactly what he did. I thought it'd be all over within 3 rounds. But, you know, when I got in the ring after, because I was shouting, just, you know, anywhere, arms. I got in, he went, what are you rushing me for? And I was like, oh, sorry. So, but like, obviously he knows what he's doing, and actually now quite pleased that we got the rounds, to be honest.
Yeah, I saw you said that. Really random, I was on Twitter and I saw Jake Paul's mum said she wants to get in the ring and punch you. She said she doesn't like the smug look on your face. She is promoting her book, so I'm not sure if she wants, you know. But did you see that? What did you think of that?
No, I was very sad because I couldn't have been nicer and more respectful of Jake and what he's done. And I think Logan's amazing. I think he's an incredible athlete. And I shook Jake Paul's dad's hand in the ring, you know. And if I would have seen Mum, I would have said, all right. But I think over the years, we've obviously had our beef, and she probably don't like me anyway. And I am probably a little bit smug. I wasn't smug after the fight because I would have been more smug if it was all over in a round. Yeah. So, no, I'll give Jake respect. And, yeah, sorry Jake's mum doesn't like me, but if she can send me a free book, that'd be fantastic.
And that's when things really escalated.
Being thinking, for my own credibility, I've got to knock you out, but I've got to try and knock you out where I'm not hurting you as much as what I could if I unleashed. Yeah. And with the punch you said that you landed, it's not his best punch, his most powerful punch, right? Yep. And he's shattered his jaw in 2 places, right? So Anthony Joshua gets his 70 million, whatever it is. But I think he's sitting there thinking, thank God for that. Thank God. On a human level, I've come out, all right, I've sort of, not reputation, but I haven't hurt him as bad as what I could have.
There should be an awful amount of people breathing a massive sigh of relief. Anybody that put that fight together, athletic commissions, like you said.
It wasn't a fight.
No, it wasn't at all. Like you said, it was a prize
Yes.
fight. It was an event. If Anthony damages him, he's got to live with that for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of stress to deal with, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he's bleeding the side of relief. The team that have put him in there, that have negotiated that for him, but the authorities that put that on and commissioned it as a proper boxing match, I've no doubt.
Does that go on his... Because
yeah, it's a professional boxing
Do you know what? If I was Anthony Joshua, I would be saying, I don't want that on my record.
Well,
But for the credibility of them putting the fight on, they would have said to him, no, we've got to say this. It's been commissioned. It's going to be a proper fight. And I found it, I love my boxing, but I just find the whole thing really, really unedifying. You said about get followers. You mentioned Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury is nowhere near his level of getting like a British title fight or whatever. Nowhere near. So it's basically he's like...
Beat Jake Paul.
Well, oh yeah, sorry, yeah, beat Jake Paul. But
but what I'm saying is that's 100. I stand by that, and I think Tommy would admit that. You know what I mean? To become a British champion, it's a very prestigious thing to do, and I think he would struggle to do that.
Rogan really went all in on his message here. He's stressing with serious intensity that boxing represents genuine danger at every level. Continuing down this path of reckless fighting could result in consequences that completely change your life, and there's no undoing that kind of damage.
And it feeds into the story of him being perhaps a little bit better than we sometimes think, although I don't really co-sign on that. Let me make a point. The first point is, I think people are overreacting a little bit. People were suggesting when I got on social media that this was like the biggest farce they'd ever seen in their life, and that this was, how could he fight like this, and this was a disaster, and Joshua should have got him out there earlier. There is probably some evidence to suggest that I don't think Joshua was carrying him in the sense of, hey, they coordinated this ahead of time. But was Joshua really stepping on the gas? No, I don't think he was really stepping on the gas. There were times I think he clearly pulled his punches, partly because Jake was squirmy and rotating on the outside. Also in part because I think, as I indicated on Friday, he's watching this guy with pretty bad footwork. He was literally tripping over himself, and he realized he just can't keep this up. So there was that. But people were acting like, like how could this be? How could this have happened? Guys, on Friday's MK, and then before that, earlier in the week on Submission Radio, they asked me on Submission Radio, how do you think he's going to fight? And I'm like, he's going to run. And they're like, you don't think he's going to clinch? I'm like, okay, he'll clinch at times, but then the rest of the time he's going to run. Like, what did you, like, what other way was this going to go? What other way was this? What other way?
But wait, there's more to this story. He also delivered this harsh reality check about getting involved in illegal stuff or participating in fixed fights. We're looking at potential legal troubles that could destroy everything someone has worked for.
It just wasn't. Jake Paul had a very healthy fear for his life while he was in there, and he was moving as such. He was staying away from him. He was running away. He was trying to get distance. Then he was trying to step in to win this athletic contest, and then he's trying to get out of the way so that he doesn't get hurt again. I mean, he was fighting. Then it turns to where he can't stay away anymore. So now he's got to go the other way. He's got to go forward. So now he's clinched him. Now he's dropping down to his knees. He's going below the waist. He's getting to double leg positions. He was fighting. These guys were Jake was fighting for his survival, and you could so see it. You could see this animal who's been caged and is just trying to make it through, not even kill its prey, just make it through. And it was incredible. It was really incredible. So on the back end, some of the comments that I made or that I had heard were so confusing to me. It was a very good competition. I will tell you, it breaks my heart too that Anthony Joshua can't get him out of there in one round. Dave Portnoy had made a comment before the fight. He said, I like Jake. I wish well for Jake. Of course I'm taking Joshua. And then Portnoy made his point. And he said, because I believe in boxing. This isn't if I'm cheering for Jake or if I think that Joshua's more experienced or better. I believe in I believe boxing's real. If boxing is an actual sport, if it is an actual sweet science, then of course a guy that's done it 11 times cannot compete with the Olympic champion. Of course.
This isn't just about losing face or dealing with bad publicity. Rogan's talking about real legal ramifications that could completely destroy a career. His message couldn't be more direct on this point. The punches are real, the consequences are real, and when something goes terribly wrong in that ring, there's no reset button you can hit. Now here's where the plot thickens, because Nikisa Baydarian came forward to set the record straight. He's officially stating that Jake Paul and his entire team stayed completely clean throughout this whole thing, with zero involvement in any fight manipulation whatsoever. He directly tackled these rumors that have been spreading like wildfire across every social media platform you can think of. All these theories about the Anthony Joshua fight being somehow fixed or arranged beforehand, he's saying they're complete nonsense with absolutely no foundation. According to what Nikisa laid out in his statement, people have been making these incredible accusations online that have somehow gained massive traction. There was this one viral post claiming there was some secret deal for Joshua to go easy on Paul and avoid the knockout. He broke down in detail how Joshua fought with complete authenticity and determination throughout every single round, totally ignoring any supposed arrangement that these conspiracy theorists keep promoting. Nikisa stressed with complete certainty that Jake put in legitimate training, competed with genuine effort, and faced actual danger every moment he spent in that ring against a world-class fighter. He also made it crystal clear that they're taking legal action against specific people who keep spreading these false stories across different platforms. For Nikisa, getting this clarification out there is absolutely essential to protect both Jake's reputation and his team's credibility, making it perfectly clear to everyone watching that the fight was completely real and unscripted, and any talk of predetermined outcomes is pure speculation based on conspiracy theories. So Eddie, expanding on what we just covered, we really need to discuss what Joe Rogan said directly to Jake Paul, because he's delivered this extremely serious warning telling Jake never to attempt anything this reckless again. Rogan really pressed him to think twice about accepting these dangerous boxing matches that create genuine risk, stressing with undeniable force that no career achievement, regardless of how good it looks or how much it pays, justifies risking your actual life. Rogan keeps hammering home that the risks in that ring are absolutely real. We're discussing brain trauma, lasting damage, potentially deadly results, and chasing scripted fights or facing dangerous opponents just for fame or money could lead to permanent consequences that go way beyond one terrible night. His message comes through loud and clear here. Safety and making responsible choices has to be the top priority for every fighter, no matter how famous they are or how many followers they have. Matthew Stern brought a completely different perspective to this whole Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul situation, offering this really comprehensive breakdown that highlighted the strategic planning behind every move in that ring. He broke down how the fight developed exactly according to this carefully designed game plan, with Joshua's team making the conscious choice to emphasize patience and controlled aggression, instead of throwing wild, reckless combinations that could leave them vulnerable. Their strategy from day one was to systematically test Jake Paul's skills, methodically finding his weak points, and pushing his endurance to the limit before landing those critical, decisive shots at precisely the perfect moment. Stern pointed out that this measured, strategic approach represents what elite professional boxing looks like at the highest level, where long-term success depends on discipline, perfect timing, and tactical brilliance, rather than just depending on raw power and crossing your fingers. Every part of the fight, based on his breakdown, was carefully designed to keep total control of rhythm and positioning, while slowly and systematically taking charge as the rounds progressed. This strategy shows how intelligent planning, preparation, and ring awareness often matter more than pure physical strength in determining who wins. Based on Stern's professional evaluation, this approach didn't just win the fight from a tactical standpoint, it also perfectly demonstrated the real artistry of boxing as this precise, intelligent competition where careful execution and smart decisions define champions and distinguish veteran, skilled fighters from newcomers who are still mastering the fundamentals. Adam Caterall entered the discussion with this really honest and straightforward evaluation of the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight, and he definitely didn't hold anything back in his analysis. He highlighted the serious imbalance that contemporary boxing is dealing with right now, where fame and social media reach increasingly determine major fights instead of genuine ability and competitive worthiness. Caterall made a pretty compelling case that Jake Paul's meteoric rise in professional boxing comes much more from his huge online presence and celebrity status than from any real technical ability or significant experience in the ring facing credible opponents. Based on Caterall's thorough analysis, even while Anthony Joshua was purposely holding back his complete power and restraining his most devastating attacks, he still showed incredible control, flawless timing, and pinpoint accuracy throughout the entire fight, connecting with shots that did genuine damage and revealed just how enormous the skill gap really was between these two men. This obvious and unmistakable difference triggered widespread speculation that certain elements of the fight might have been affected or influenced by outside pressures and business considerations instead of purely athletic factors and competitive honesty. Stories spread quickly throughout boxing circles that Jake Paul supposedly tried to control or manipulate the tempo and dynamics of the match to reduce his personal danger and keep up good appearances for his image, showing these wider concerns about how celebrity boxing increasingly puts spectacle and entertainment ahead of authenticity and legitimate competition. Caterall's insights really highlight how these modern publicity-driven fights can seriously damage competitive integrity, putting all the emphasis on entertainment value and marketability instead of genuine skill, strategic complexity, and the traditional principles that have always been the foundation of professional boxing. Sam Jones delivered this really honest and totally unfiltered take on the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul fight that honestly reflects what many serious boxing fans were feeling, pointing out that the fight was genuinely hard to watch from beginning to end, and not because we were seeing these intense back and forth battles that keep you glued to your seat. No, it was tough to watch because of the obvious technical problems that were constantly visible throughout the entire fight. He highlighted in pretty blunt terms that Jake Paul had major difficulties with basic boxing fundamentals that any legitimate professional should have perfected long ago, including essential defensive skills like correct head movement, keeping a solid guard up, using proper footwork and positioning, and responding appropriately to Joshua's attacks when they came. These constant mistakes and technical errors created this ongoing sense of mismatch throughout the whole fight, repeatedly showing the absolutely obvious difference in experience, skill level, and ring intelligence between these two fighters. People watching carefully noticed that some parts of the fight looked almost planned or practiced, as if the action had been quietly directed or controlled to keep both fighters from facing excessive danger or getting into situations that might create serious problems. While Jake Paul clearly invested substantial training time and effort getting ready for this fight, and nobody's doubting his commitment in that area, Jones suggested that the clear mismatch in natural ability and ring smarts combined with these supposed hints of choreographed pacing and planned sequences led to this viewing experience that felt truly awkward and unsettling for those of us expecting real competitive drama and genuine sporting excitement. The fight really exposed the built-in problems of combining celebrity status and social media fame with professional-level boxing competition, showing in pretty clear terms how spectacle and entertainment can sometimes completely replace actual skill and authenticity, leaving serious fans questioning whether these contests are legitimate when performance and entertainment overlap so obviously and dramatically. Chael Sonnen expressed some really harsh criticism about this entire fight, emphasizing with real worry that matches like this are way too dangerous to be happening under what we'd call standard competitive conditions in the sport. He described the fight in pretty dramatic language, as feeling less like a genuine legitimate boxing match between two athletes testing their abilities, and more like this frantic fight for survival, where both the physical risks and the reputation damage were dangerously, almost irresponsibly high for everyone participating. Sonnen stressed with real urgency that when inexperienced fighters decide to face elite professionals who've dedicated decades to mastering their skills, they're placing themselves in truly dangerous situations that could cause permanent damage or even death. The alleged scripting involvement by Jake Paul, along with these extremely high-risk fights that probably shouldn't be approved in the first place, really increases and intensifies the problems we're witnessing throughout celebrity boxing. From Sonnen's viewpoint, this expanding trend of mixing celebrity status and social media fame with serious professional sport creates major dangers, not just for the integrity and credibility of boxing as a legitimate athletic contest, but also for unnecessarily putting participants at risk in ways that earlier generations of the sport would never have accepted. Experts and boxing professionals watching the fight observed that Jake Paul's strategy throughout the match seemed unusually careful at certain crucial points, which sparked all kinds of questions about his real goals and what was actually happening in there. While some people saw this careful approach as just a sensible, intelligent strategy for someone fighting well beyond their actual skill level, other observers and critics wondered if certain moments and exchanges seemed almost rehearsed or arranged beforehand, created specifically to let Joshua control and dominate the action without putting either fighter in extreme danger or creating a situation that might get out of hand. This interpretation supposedly matches up pretty well with those ongoing rumors that Paul tried to influence and control the rhythm in specific parts of the fight to keep himself safe from serious injury, while also maximizing the entertainment factor for the huge audience watching. These fighters weren't really participating in what most of us would consider a genuine boxing match in the classic sense. That wraps up everything we covered today, and honestly we went through tons of material discussing this controversial fight and all the chaos around it. Keep watching for next time, because you already know there are going to be more developments in this ongoing story.